Hello, Reminderland. This is Chris Mazza, Executive Editor of Reminder Publishing, and here is this week's Quick Reminders, a rapid rundown of the top stories from this week's papers. Now, first off, Congressman Richard E. Neal met with local veterans at the Ludlow Veterans Center on April 22nd for a discussion on the policies and actions taken by the Trump administration and the impacts they may have on those who have served. For our next story, at an April 25th press conference, Westfield Mayor Michael McCabe was joined by State Senator John Velas and Community Development Director Peter Miller to announce that the Jupiter Power Company had withdrawn its proposal for a battery energy storage site in the city. The proposed Streamfield project would have overlapped the Barnes Aquifer, which has already had a recent and costly history with chemical contamination. For our third story this week, Mass DOT is going to be conducting a public information meeting regarding Springfield's X reconstruction project on May 14th at 6:30 p.m. inside the Forest Park Middle School auditorium. Early construction began in March with the installation of traffic signage, survey work, and preliminary utility investigation. But this project is expected to continue through 2030. Now, the next story on our list is a pretty inspiring one. Agawam resident Cindy Lilly crossed the finish line at the Boston Marathon earlier this month in support of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. In addition to this incredible individual achievement, by race day, she had raised over $15,000 for Make-A-Wish. And last but not least this week, Longmeadow is gearing up for another active election season with 5 candidates running for 2 seats on the select board. Incumbents Mark Gold and Dan Zwerko will face off against Maury Garrett Jr., Shelley Maynard DeWolf, and Salvatore Anzalotti III in a primary election on May 6th. The 4 candidates that receive the most votes will appear on the annual election ballot. That wraps up this week's Quick Reminders. For more on these stories and much, much more, be sure to pick up a copy of this week's paper or visit us at thereminder.com. Of course, don't miss the latest episode of So That Reminds Me, our bi-weekly podcast, where Sarah Sitzo fills us in on all the great things happening at the zoo in Forest Park. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media outlets: Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube for this and so much more information. Until next time, have a great week.